Bharat? Hello? Bharat? Bharat? Yoga college. Hello, Bharat? Bharat? Participants, due to the technical issue, the presenter could not submit it properly. What we will do is we will see the next presentation. Then during that time we will get it ready. So we can go for the food safety management system next. So before that, we will see about auditing. That will be presented by Mr. Yogaraj. Who was also an alumni of our college and who was completed his master's degree in food safety and quality management in NIFTAM. Then he has joined Jubilant Consumers Private Limited, Bengaluru, and currently he is working as city quality in charge in Lysias, Chennai region. I kindly invite Mr. Yogaraj to take the dice, please.
Hi, sir. Thank you for setting the context. Good morning, all. I hope I am audible to everyone. It will be good if someone confirms. Sir, am I audible to everyone?
Yogaraj, it is audible. Please take the dice, please.
Yes, sir.
You are audible, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'm just presenting my screen. So my screen is visible, right?
It is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, the sir given the brief introduction about me. I'm Yogaraj. Like I'm currently working for Lysias as city quality in charge for Chennai region. So basically, I'm taking care of the audits of the front end, basically the retail and the distribution of this industry. So the industry is basically handles the poultry and red meat and seafood also. So today in this session, like we will be seeing about the auditing, the auditing process in the poultry meat processing plant. So the agenda of today's presentation will be like we will be seeing the general requirements and overview of a poultry processing plant. Then we will see about food safety audit and then the general framework of that food safety audit. Then in the second part, we will be seeing in detail about the food safety and standards, food safety auditing regulations, which came into effect in 2018. Then about what are all the things it is given in that regulation, we will be seeing. So that will be our agenda of this presentation. So going with the introduction, like poultry industry in India, it was like started like a backyard activity. So in the last 3 decades, we have seen like the rapid growth in the industry after like the LPG, after the privatization, when you know, in 90s, when we given the access to the private players on having poultry farms and like, you know, after that it got, this sector got rapid growth. So the market value of this market is currently around 1 lakh crore, but mostly the poultry industry in India was unorganized. So in terms of figure, I could say is like we are producing like 4.7 billion kg of poultry per annum, but in that very meager amount is produced and accessed by organized sector. So that is the primary reason why we are here. So like in order to increase the effectiveness and the food safety aspects of the domestic market. So that is why we are here. That's a brief introduction about this. We will see in next slides about the other things. So the poultry meat processing plant, general requirement and overview. So today we will be seeing the processing after slaughter. So basically poultry meat processing plant can be vertically integrated with slaughterhouse, or it can be an exclusive meat processing unit which can receive carcasses from the approved FSSA licensed slaughterhouses. So this will be the primary process flow of the poultry meat processing unit, which is not integrated to slaughterhouse. So they will receive chilled carcass from the approved slaughterhouse, and it will be thoroughly checked by the in-process quality control team for various quality aspects about the carcass. So like we will be checking the scalding of the carcass, and then any abnormal disease conditions, and carcass weight, various parameters we check. And after the approval, if it is for whole chicken packing, it will go into a separate line, and it will be washed and chilled, and then it will primary pack, and then it will go to metal detection and final storage. And if it is for customization products, then it will go into a cutting and portioning line, where we will have a trained butchers who will perform the cutting operations based on the customer's requirement, which industry framed. And then there are further customization, like we will do deboning. So for boneless SKUs, we will be doing that operations, which will be operated in separate line, because a boneless SKU should not be contaminated with bones. So it will be operated by a separate processing line within the processing plant. So all these will be primary and secondary packed and thoroughly entered into metal detection, secondary pack, and final storage. So this is like the basic process flow in a general process flow in a poultry meat processing unit. So there are processes where this meat will after cutting, there can be a marinated products, customized product like cold cuts. Those are handled in a separate line. So they will be segregated from the fresh products and handled in a separate processing line. So all these marinations will be handled by a separate team of employees. So further to that, we will see what is the general requirements mandated by Food Authority in poultry meat processing plant. It is briefly given in the Schedule 4 of FSSA, Food Safety and Standards, licensing and registration of food business regulations. So in that, the specific requirements should be followed by operators handling meat is given in the Part 4 of the schedule. So compliance to that requirements given in Part 4 made mandatory under Section 2.1.2, subsection 1, clause 5 of the same regulation which I said. So let me see the various general requirements mandated in Schedule 4 of licensing and registration regulations. So basically, they insist various PRPs. So actually, these content will Bharat sir should have handled this content. So I will try to brief, or sir, can he present now the PRPs and things now, sir? Selvan sir? Hello? Selvan sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, you're audible.
Okay. Okay, I will take you through the various PRPs. So actually, this content was like the previous presenter would have covered, but unfortunately, is due to his network issues, I will try to cover these things. So location. So these are the 8 general PRPs. This Schedule 4 mandated in every meat processing unit. So starting from location, so when we discuss location, so ideally the location should be away from environmental polluted areas and the regions which is prone for floodings and things like that. And in terms of buildings and facilities, it discuss about all the food contact surface should be food grade. So when we say food grade, whichever the knife, tables, and the food contact surface we use should be made up of like stainless steel 304 grade or 316 grade. And then sanitary facilities, it discuss about the water requirement and ice and steam requirement. So all the water which comes in contact with food, it should be conform ISO 10500 standards. So which gives the various requirements to be in potable water. So the water should be tested on a fixed frequency based on the risk analysis. And in the sanitary facilities also discuss about the cleaning protocols. So the master cleaning schedules the company should frame. And then in equipment and utensils, all the equipments as we discussed in the processing flow. So whatever equipment we use in fresh line should not be used for marination section or deboning section. There shall be separate segregation of equipments and utensils. And all these food contact equipment and utensils should be cleaned and sanitized on a fixed frequency. So for this, the organization should decide, like after the use, after cleaning and sanitization, there should be a measure to keep these knives and tongs, everything in a place where it does not exposed to various microbial contamination. So there are several methods like UV hood we can use, or we can use water bath at minimum 82 degrees Celsius. So these are the brief about equipment utensils PRPs. Then various hygiene requirements also made mandated by Schedule 4. So the hygiene requirement includes the separate team should be there. The hygiene workers should not involve in process, and then they should be identified in processing line. And also the drainages of the processing line should be covered, and it should not be prone for infestations and things. And then pest control chemicals handling, and the person doing pest control service should have they should be identified inside the processing unit. And the pest control chemical should be stored in an access control place, since it is very risk chemical. So this will be covered under food defense aspect as well. So pest control PRP is very important in meat processing unit. Basically it discuss about the windows should be covered with meshes, and the storage areas should be segregated and access controlled in order to avoid the pest infestations. Basically the drainage is the most prone areas for pest infestation, so that should be designed in a way to prevent those contaminations. Then the 7th point is like personal hygiene and health requirements. So personal hygiene includes the health certificate and the hand wash stations every day, the jewelry policy, personal hygiene policy, everything should be prepared by the organization before commencing any operations, processing operations. Then personal cleanliness, it discuss about the employees training about the personal cleanliness, and every day there should be a brief to the team about the personal cleanliness. And it also discuss about the requirement of washrooms. So 25 members if work in a processing plant, then they should have one washroom. So that is the the requirement mandated by Schedule 4. So going forward, we will see food safety management system. So food safety management system for a meat processing unit, it is nothing but like interrelated and interacting elements of an organization to establish policies and objectives and process to achieve those objectives. So what it means is like food safety management is it's a system approach where we frame various process, protocols and SOPs to be followed in order to achieve the food safety objectives what we frame. So it is not like framing a SOP for a process, it covers everything. So it involves 4 major things. So the key elements of FSMS as per ISO 22000 is it should be interactive communication. So food safety management system, when we say it is not only comprised, it will not only restricted to the process or something, it involves everything, starting from the roles and responsibility of each team, and the roles and responsibilities of food safety team leader and the organization's leadership, what is their roles, and we need to cover all the aspect which is having the potential to affect the food safety. So we will see about that process approach. So food safety management should be approached based on the systematic process what we handle in food industry. So basically what we do that by handling PDCA cycle. So PDCA is Plan, Do, Check, Act. So I will explain that in using this diagram. So this is the brief of Plan, Do, Check, Act. So what we plan is context of the organization. When we say context of the organization, for each organization there will be interested parties. So they include the suppliers, the vendors, the persons who we hire for pest control, and for washing the uniforms of the employees. All those stakeholders should be considered while planning the FSMS. And the leadership should be always committed to have a world-class food safety system in their industry, and the leadership should also frame their roles and responsibility of the food safety team and the corresponding team, production, maintenance, procurement, marketing. Everyone should be the part of that food safety team. Then in planning, we will plan all the aspects, starting from the each unit operations, the risk involved in each unit operations. We will do the risk analysis of each processing step and the various hazard which can cause harm to food safety. So that we will plan. Then support include as I said, externally provided processes and services. We will evaluate them also. Then the important part is the do. So what we plan, we need to do. So in do, again, we need to plan few things. So PRPs we discussed. So that PRPs, each PRP as given in Schedule 4. So the organization, before commencing the process, so they should ensure all PRPs are implemented as per the requirement. And then the traceability system should be in place. So when I say traceability system, it includes from where these birds are procured and from which slaughterhouse they slaughtered and converted into carcass, and from which vendor the carcasses are moved from slaughterhouse to the processing center, and then from processing center during production, batch wise segregation, vendor-wise segregation, all that will be covered in this traceability system. So the organization should have a concrete traceability system in order to achieve, in order to track in case of any incident happen later. So the traceability system is a very important aspect in food safety management system. Then emergency preparedness and response. So though we plan all that processes, there are situations where some incidents can happen. For example, like some vehicles can, some refrigerated vehicle can end up in some issues where the refrigeration can fail on road. So on that situation, what should the organization do? So those emergency responses, and then any issues, curfew, like for example, lockdown kind of issue. Recently, we faced, all the industries faced that. So during such scenarios, how to handle the employees, all that should be part of food safety management system. Then the next second part in operational planning and control is hazard analysis. So hazard analysis is nothing but, analyzing each unit operation of a processing plant, and we need to check how various hazards can enter in each unit operation. So basically, hazards are categorized into 3: physical, chemical, and biological hazards. So we need to do a hazard analysis on each unit operations to decide how these hazards can enter, and what are all the preventive measures to avoid those hazards from entering the food chain. So for that, we have a hazard analysis team should be there. We call it as a sub team. So a sub team should have the representative from each department of that processing plant. It should not only comprise of the quality team or R&D team. It should have the representation from production, maintenance, procurement, marketing, everyone. So FSTL will organize all the meetings of those team, and they do the hazard analysis. And organization also can get the help from external consultants to conduct these analyses. So while doing analysis, they need to consider all the hazards. So not only physical, chemical, biological hazards, and also they should concentrate on any allergen issues, and any processed induced hazards also is there. So maybe some chemical hazards may not present in the initial stage, but when doing processing, that become hazard. So the hazard analysis team should consider all the potential and all the hazards which can enter food safety in food chain while doing hazard analysis. Then validation of control measures. So when we identified some hazard, then there will be decision making tree. So whether this hazard can be controlled by PRP itself, or it needs some concrete intervention in order to eliminate that hazard. So for example, many hazards can be controlled by implementing PRPs itself. For example, pest. So pest can be controlled mostly by PRPs, but metal kind of hazard cannot be controlled that easy. So for that, we may have a concrete intervention like having a metal detector, and then validation of those control measures. So that we need to, the FSMS team should work on that intervention method, and it should be validated. And after validation, we will have a hazard control plan. We call it as HACCP plan. So HACCP plan should detail about the entire process of controlling each identified hazard. So it should discuss about the hazard first, then what is the control measure we identified. So let me take one example of hazard. Like if metal is the hazard, is a major hazard in meat processing unit, since we handle the products with tools, metal tools. So that and also the probability of occurrence may be less, but the severity is very high. So while doing analysis, hazard analysis, we calculate that what is the probability of the occurrence of the identified hazard and what is the severity. So based on that factor, we plan the control measure. So in that control measure, as I said, let me take example of metal. So the metal piece control plan, HACCP plan, should discuss about the probability of the occurrence and the severity. Then it should detail about that hazard, then how we are controlling that. So we can control at different places. Probably, usually what in our processing plant do is they ensure that the carcasses they receive, if it is not integrated with slaughterhouse, before doing this butchery operation itself, they pass their carcasses under a metal detector, and that will be the OPRP initial stage, first screening out these metal pieces before butchery. Then we have another final step after packing. We will be doing another metal detection, which will be considered as CCP. So the difference between OPRP and CCP is OPRP is operational prerequisite program, which can arrest the hazards, but not 100%. But in CCP is the final step after which we cannot control that hazard. So the organization should plan OPRP and CCP in that way, so that after that CCP, no hazard can go into food chain. So while doing FSMS plan, that is how the organization works. Then verification of those plan. So we framed now the various OPRPs and CCP. Now we should have a verification plan to check how effective these control measures are working. So for this, we should have a trained staff and the fixed frequency of verification and the verification of the verifier. So also there should be a supervisor who verify the person who verify that CCPs on a fixed duration. Then after planning all that, we implement this FSMS plan in the real time in the processing line, and then we control the monitoring, and then we do various checks. So after planning, we implement all the things which we planned, and then in check aspect, we check all that verification things are happening as per the plan, and then in act we get the feedback when we check and verify. We came to know about the drawbacks, and then we act to improve the FSMS. So this is the overall flow of FSMS. Hello. I want to confirm if I'm audible. Hello. Can we
Yes,
go?
sir. Audible.
Yeah, I would like to to know if anyone have any query on this slide, because I haven't gone deep into it. I just overviewed it, since I thought it will be covered by the previous presenter. So if anyone have any specific query on FSMS, I can brief. Because I covered this PDCA in a very brief only. So I'm not entered into deep dive. So if anyone have a query in any of these topic, if anyone point out, I can drill it. Shall we proceed? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now the topic is starting. So food safety audit. So after successful implementation of food safety management system, the organization should audit that system in order to check whether it is work based on the plan. So the audit originated from the Latin word auditus, which means hearing. So usually this process incorporate the review of documentations and the checks in order to whether it complies to the plan we have, or we check whether the standard requirements are met. So in the coming slide, we will be seeing various classification of audits, in which we will see about that. So basically, the definition of food safety audit as per FSSA Act is a systematic and functionally independent examination of food safety measure adopted by manufacturing unit. So the food safety measures includes all the activities which we done as part of food safety management system. So in order to determine what is whether the desired results are coming out from that plan or any drawback is there, to identify that, food safety audit become an important aspect in processing plant. So the general purpose, as I said, it basically evaluate the to prioritize the actions. So in what area we need to work on to avoid the incidents, that is the one purpose. And then commercial nature. The purpose of commercial nature means organizations go for voluntary certifications, in order to position their products to international market, or when they need to export, the organizations do voluntary certifications, which is also mandate by sometimes by the country which importing. So that is one purpose. Then evaluation of suppliers, we do audit. So if we procure, for example, if our company procure carcass from an approved farm, even though they are approved by FSSAI, as an organization, we will audit that supplier, whether he follow all the requirements mandated by government, and whether that company can effectively supply me throughout the year. So for that, the organization will audit the another organization who supplies various requirements of the industry. And then audit can also happen within the organization to check the issues happened in that organization. For example, if any incident happened, for example, if any pest incident happened in the process line, then the organization can initiate an audit to identify which area, which due to which that incident happened. For that purpose also audit can happen. Then major purpose is to comply to the regulatory requirements. So that is the major majorly the purpose of the audit is to comply to the requirement, and other things are followed to that. Then in the context of India, what is the purpose or the significance of doing food safety audit is FSSAI giving these 5 as a significance, then strengthening the food safety system in the country, and reducing the regulatory inspection. Basically, we will see the food safety audit regulations 2018, in which how that regulation reduced the inspection by authorities, state and central food authority. So that will reduce. Then encouraging self-compliance. So by doing the effective internal audit, the company can self-comply to the all the requirements of food safety management system. Then also the self-sustaining ecosystem we can create by having an effective food safety audit system. Then it will reduce, basically the audit will reduce the gap between regulatory-led enforcement. That means like if there is no food safety audit, effective food safety audit in the industry, then every time the regulator should inspect and post penalties, improvement notice. That process is a tedious process. So basically the self-compliance and food safety audit system within the organization reduce this gap. So as I said in the previous slide, so these are the classification. So generally audits, food safety audits are classified into external and internal audit. So external audit is usually conducted by the third party organization. So this can be for certification audit like ISO, FSSC certification, we can go for external audit. And internal audit means within the organization, by the employee of that organization, they will do audit in order to check the various issues in the food safety management system. So basically I'm an internal certified internal auditor for FSSC, who as I said, I will be doing the compliance check of the various requirements given in FSSC clauses. And we will be having FSMS plan in order to comply to those requirements. So internal auditor will check whether all that food safety management system is giving the it's like giving the result as per our plan, and it's meeting the objectives of food safety plan. Then based on auditor-auditee relationship, this audit is classified into 3 things: first party audit, second party audit, and third party audit. So first party audit, as I said, it is an internal audit in order to verify and check the effectiveness of the strategies framed within the organization. Second party audit means within different organization. Like if I audit my supplier, that will be called as second party audit, where we have interested we call them as interested parties. So he having interest in my company and I want his product, so mutually agreed we will be doing audit of that organization. That will be come under second party audit. Third party audit is what we do for certification and regulatory compliance. So it will be conducted by an independent auditor who don't have any interest with the organization. So he will be an independent person who will be doing audit based on the requirements of FSMS. So next we will be seeing the general framework of food safety audit. So food safety audit, these are the 5 steps in any food safety audit, irrespective of this type, first party, second party, third party, or internal or external. All the audit will flow on these 5 steps. So basically any food safety audit should start with the audit plan. So audit plan is nothing but they need to, first of all, auditor will review the documented food safety program. So which we discussed in the previous slides, PDCA cycle, whatever the food safety program the organization have, they review it before doing the on-site audit. So once if they find any major deviation in documented food safety program itself, they usually avoid on-site audit and they straight away start correcting that. They will straight away raise the points that the documented program itself having a drawback. So then they plan, if that documented food safety program meeting all the requirements, then they plan like when the audit should happen, what is the mandate, time, and aligning both auditor and auditee. Those part will cover under planning. Then the second step, execution. So execution starts basically at the once the auditor arrive to the auditee site. So hello, hello, sir, some disturbance. Hello. Thank you. Am I audible? Vijender Nuval confirm. Yes. Sir, thank you, sir. I'm getting some disturbance. Is everyone is in mute? Okay. Audit execution. Sorry. Now it is clear. Audit execution starts when the auditor arrives at the auditee site, and the major activity in the execution is we should have an opening meeting. In opening meeting, we meet all the representative of the auditee site. So these representative includes the HACCP team or FSMS team. So basically, we start the opening meeting by explaining them the audit criteria. We will be seeing the audit criteria in the coming slides. What is audit criteria? So audit criteria, we will brief them, and then we gain understanding of that organization by interacting with them. So basically the execution can be done by the auditor in 3 ways. One is interviewing the employees and the team members and verifying the documents and records, and then on-site verification of their FSMS plan. So these are the 3 basic steps in execution of audit. Is that clear? We will be seeing this in FSSAI's regulation. We will be seeing this execution part in brief, in detail. So in general framework, this is the execution part. So in execution, we start with the opening meeting. We review their various process documents and records, and then we confirm in on-site, we confirm whether the documented FSMS plan is effectively implemented and giving desirable result. So this is the major 3 activity in execution of food safety audit. And then after doing all these 3 activity, we will be communicating the results of the audit. So result means various non-conformities which is identified in this execution. We will be communicating that, and we will be explain them the non-conformities and get the feedback as well. So that is very important point in audit. So it is not like auditor can raise number of non-conformities and he can leave the audit site. So opening meeting followed by execution should have a closing meeting where the auditor explains the various non-conformity he identified during the audit to the food business operator, and he submit the audit report as well. And then the next part is corrective and preventive action. So after generating the audit report, he identify various major non-conformities and minor non-conformities. So what is major non-conformity is which is the foundational failure of food safety management system was identified in audit, then that will be considered as major non-conformity, or the any hazards identified during audit which can cause severe injury to the health. Those things are considered as major non-conformities. Minor non-conformities means any incidents or situations or hazards identified in organization during the audit which may not cause severe issues, but it will bring ineffectiveness to the food safety management plan. So that we call as minor non-conformities. So at the end of execution, auditor may raise various major and minor non-conformities. So for that, the organization should take corrective and preventive action. So what is corrective action means? The action to eliminate the cause of non-conformity to prevent reoccurrence. So to do this corrective action, organization can, through the documented records and process, they can check the root cause of non-conformity. Then they scan the entire system in order to eliminate the similar non-conformities to occur. Then they check the effect of such non-conformity if went to customer, what will be its effect, and then they take the appropriate action by recalling or withdrawing the products. So we can discuss this with an example. For example, if during the audit, the auditor identified that the metal detector was failed. So this become a major non-conformity. Since the severity of that CCP failure is high, that will be called as major non-conformity. So following to that major non-conformity, organization do immediate corrective action. So the immediate corrective action includes they hold the production, they scan the entire system of the product which produced earlier to that check. So if I check at 11 o'clock, then the entire batch produced till 11 will be scanned again with the proper metal detector. And since it is having severity more, they will do recall. If any product dispatched, then they recall. This covers corrective action. Then to preventive action means it eliminate the potential cause itself. So why this metal detector failed? So they identify that and they eliminate that potential cause of that non-conformity. So for example, maybe for this incident, the metal detector might have failed due to poor calibration. Then they increase the calibration frequency, and they put one more check, one more OPRP in receiving section in order to prevent this incident of metal. So that comprises of preventive action. So basically preventive action is one step ahead of corrective action, which eliminate the potential of the non-conformity to enter the food chain. Then the fourth stage of the audit is verification. In verification, basically what auditor do is he will verify the corrective and preventive actions taken by the organization. So this includes the main point in verification is the person who conducted the audit, he should not determine the corrective action. So auditor should never guide the auditee about the corrective action in order to avoid, in order to avoid the that should be a point of conflict between the auditor and auditee. So the person who do the audit should not be the person who determine corrective action. So then that is one basic requirement in this process. Then he reviews the output of the corrective and preventive action. So the effectiveness of the corrective and preventive action can be done by auditor. So this can be done by revisit of the audit, or he can just check it with the corrective action and preventive action report itself. So usually nowadays we are doing like follow-up audits. So in case of second party audit, as I said, we used to audit our suppliers, and if we raise any major and minor non-conformities, we give some fixed time for closure. And then after that, we do visit and re-audit of that particular action if it is giving the proper result or not. If it is not giving the result, then we again raise, or we cancel that supplier. So that process covers the verification. Then the fifth process, which is audit evaluation. This is very important in terms of continual improvement. So whatever we done as part of food safety audit, whether it is working effectively, whether this audit giving some value to the food safety of that organization, we can evaluate that on a fixed frequency. So this includes like how the resources are utilized during audit, and how effectively this auditee taking the corrective action implementation. So whether they do it for the sake of preparing the documents, or these corrective actions are really reflected in the FSMS plan. All these things the top management evaluate in order to find whether food safety audit giving some value to the system or not. So this comprises of audit evaluation. So these are the 5 basic steps in food safety audit in a general aspect. So these 5 steps can be followed during internal audit also, external audit also, first party, second party, all audit. This is the 5 basic steps. So now we going to see about food safety and standard food safety audit regulation 2018. So this regulation is basically drafted using the power conferred by Food Safety and Standards Act 2006. So section 16 subsection 2 clause C, which defines the duties of food authority, in which one of the duty is to frame the mechanism and guidelines for accreditation of certification body engaged in certification of food safety management system for food business. So under this clause, and section 44, recognition of organization or agency for food safety audit. So these 2 sections giving power to the food authority to frame this regulation, food safety auditing regulation 2018. So this draft regulation was published in the official gazette on 12th October 2017, and it was made available to public on 18th October. And after considering various objections and suggestions from the various stakeholders, it came into force in August 28, 2018. So we will see the rational and salient features of this regulation. So basically the reason to have this regulation is it enhances the self-compliance culture. So basically, though Schedule 4 mandate the PRPs, though we have food safety management system in place, usually organization will not do effective self-compliance. They do like, since in India we have majorly this medium scale industries and many unorganized, and even though organized, they will not effectively do this self compliance. So this auditing regulation basically enhancing this self compliance culture by the food business operator. Then effective monitoring and inspection of compliance. So food safety officer or designated officer cannot, always to monitor and inspection of FSMS plan. So this regulation addressing that gap, and by doing this audit through approved agencies, it reducing the frequency. As I said, it reducing the frequency of visit by the central and state food authorities. So that is the basic rationale to have this regulation in place. Then salient feature of this regulation include this regulation giving procedure to recognize the auditing agencies, procedure for renewal, procedure for application, renewal, cancellation of that auditing agencies. Then it giving various terms and conditions for recognition. Then it briefly explained the auditing process that should be followed. Then it briefing about the duties of auditor and how the audit report should be, and how the audit monitoring system should be. So we'll be seeing that in the coming slides. So food safety auditing through private agencies. So if one agency want to apply for recognition from FSSAI, so this is something similar to how FSSAI recognize and notify NABL accredited labs. So similarly, how NABL accredit the labs, here these agencies should have a prerequisite of accreditation from National Accreditation Board for certification bodies for management system certification. So there are some two important accreditation, which is ISO 17021 and ISO Technical Specification 22003. So these two accreditation, any one of that should be available with the agency in order to recognized by FSSAI. So ISO 17021 is nothing but conformity assessment that various requirements for operations of various type of bodies performing inspection. So this will be accredited by the National Accreditation Board for certification bodies. And ISO Technical Specification 22003 is food safety management system requirements for bodies providing audit and certification of food safety management system. So any one of these standards should these organizations applying for recognition should have in as a prerequisite. Then procedure follow the agency should follow is so the application form as per the form A given in the auditing regulations. Then the application fee of rupees 5,000 in the form of demand draft should be enclosed, which is non-refundable, and annexure A shall be enclosed. I will show the annexures. Just give me a minute.
Hello?
Hello.
Is it
Yes, yes.
audible?
Hello.
Is it audible?
Hello.
Is it audible? Everyone?
It is audible.
Okay, okay.
Sir, I'm getting some disturbance, sir. I'm getting some fan sound actually. Hello.
Okay, okay.
Let me rejoin. Let me rejoin. Hello.
Hello, yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Thank
Audible,
you.
audible.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will see this form A and annexure A. I will present that screen. So this is annexure A, which should be attached along with the application form. So this annexure A should cover like if the auditing agency on what are all the categories they can do audit. So they should specify. So every agency cannot can do audit, and they have all the auditors for auditing all these sectors. So they should while doing the application, they should have this filled, and they should provide all the details of the auditors who will be doing audit on each sector. So this is the annexure A. And after this application and successful application, then how they recognize auditing agency, the steps to recognize auditing agency is food authority will be having one screening committee to scrutinize these applications of auditing agencies, and based on the recommendation from that screening committee for giving recognition, food authority will give recognition. But before that, the auditing agency should pay the recognition fee of 30,000 rupees. Once they paid that, food authority will give certificate of recognition, which is valid for 3 years unless specified otherwise. After this step, the details of auditing agency along with the details of auditors will be notified in the website. So we have already some list. So this is how they I hope my this screen also visible. So these are the currently recognized agencies which can do audits. So here is the scope of auditing, as we said in the annexure A, annexure 1. So this agency can you can see, for example, Bureau Veritas can do different sectors like meat, egg, fish, but the first one, Onset International Private Limited, only few. So this is how they notify in the website. So once this auditing agency is recognized, we will see the different roles and responsibility of various stakeholders here. So food authority, basically, as I said, they frame the sectors based on the risk analysis in order to fix the auditing frequency and the number of man days, and they frame the various regulations and process should be followed by each stakeholder, and they define the audit management protocol, they define the communication channel, and they monitor the overall performance of the auditing agency, and they also check the integrity and integrity and other effectiveness of the auditing agencies. Then as an auditing agency, they should follow all the criteria specified by the regulation, and the auditor from the agency should properly conduct the audit and submit the report, and the auditor should be responsible for closure of audit findings, especially the minor non-conformities identified in the audit as per the section 7.3.7 of the manual. So we have an audit manual. Actually, all the FSSAI auditors who do this auditor will have one manual. In that, various procedures to be followed during audit will be given. Then the submission of audit report as per the timeline prescribed by the regulation. So there are some timelines. We will be seeing that when I explain the audit framework. Then they should ensure the conflict of interest requirements. So FSSAI audit regulation demand the audit agency to have a conflict of interest between the auditee. So there is one acknowledgement that should be given by the auditing agency, which says, we will be seeing that in coming slide. Actually, I will show that declaration. Then the auditing agency should update the authority about any changes in accreditation. For example, as I said, here, there are agencies which may not have these two accreditation, but they may have some different international accreditations. So those agencies will be given recognition under some understanding that they will get the accreditation from National Accreditation Board of Certification body within specific period. If an organization agency recognized based on that provision, then they should update about the changes of that accreditation and the scope of audit, everything, time to time to the food authority. Then the roles and responsibility of auditors. So they should perform the duties prescribed under the section 10, which we will be seeing in next slide, and maintain confidentiality, which is very important part the auditor should follow. Then they should conduct an audit unbiased in a professional way and following all the principles of auditing. So we will be seeing the principles of auditing also in coming slide. Then the roles and responsibility of food business operator include, so they should initiate the audit as per the risk classification of industries. So FSSAI made the mandatory sectors which should be audited on certain frequencies. Then they should also meet the conflict of interest as applicable to auditing agency. It will applicable to FBO as well. Then if that some industry is not categorized in mandatory audit, they can do this audit on a voluntary basis also. So these are the various roles and responsibilities of stakeholders. Then now we can see duties of auditors. So duties of auditors is given under section 10 of the regulation. So food safety auditor is responsible for for various things. So firstly, he should conduct the audit. He verify the compliance of a food safety management system, which is prescribed in the Act of Food Safety Standards and Schedule 4 and various regulatory requirements that should be met by food business operator. He verify the compliance. And also the auditor conduct pre-commissioning inspection. So before commencing the operation itself, the organization can schedule one on-site audit from these agencies. So these agency will verify if all the requirements mandated by Schedule 4, PRP requirements and all food safety management requirements are met even before commencing the operations of the food business. So they do that audit as well. And auditor should maintain the confidentiality as I discussed earlier, and there should be a audit report timely. You should prepare and it should be forwarded to the food authority within 15 days. And the major non-conformities and minor non-conformities should be communicated to food authorities within 24 hours, and minor non-conformities should be communicated in 15 days. So that is the duty, one of the duty of the auditor. Then he is also responsible for following up the corrective action and preventive action as we discussed in the general framework. So major non-conformities, if anything identified, he should convey that to the food authority in 24 hours. Then food authority will follow up those conformities, and if necessary, they may take the necessary actions. For minor non-conformities, the follow-up should be conducted by the auditor, and to check whether these corrective actions are effectively implemented and it is giving desired results. Then other duties, if anything directed by food authorities, auditors should abide that as well. These are the basic duties of auditors as given in the section 10 of the regulation. Then this is the audit framework, the entire audit process. We will see the step-by-step process. So basically, food safety audit can select the auditing agency from the website. There are various agencies notified from which the food business audit operator will select the agency which is having the scope of auditing their industry. So then the auditing agency will collect all the information of the food business operator, scope, number of production lines, product group, consultancy and training details. As I said, right, an organization can get the help of consultant to frame the food safety management system. So the auditor will collect that detail and all the number of food handlers, area of food storage, the the layout, size, everything we collect. So we call that as audit intake form. So that should be collected. Then FBO will finalize the next step. After this is completed, then food business operator will finalize the date of audit and decide the audit fee. So audit fee is not fixed by the regulation. It is the process between the auditing agency and food business operator as of now. Maybe the regulation also specify that this audit fee can be fixed later, so they can add that regulation in coming days. As of now, the audit fee is not fixed by food authority. So then, as I said, auditing agency will fill audit intake form in the web page. So they will get one login credentials. So all these details which we discussed will be filled in that dashboard. And then they schedule the audit after filling that audit intake form. So audit intake form comprises of audit date, auditor detail, audit mandates mentioned in the intake form. And once this form is filled, the information cannot be changed. So that is one important point. Again, I'm getting that fan sound. Anyone unmuted? Can anyone check that everyone is in mute? Sir, Selvan sir.
Hello?
Sir, I'm getting one sound, sir. Air sound, sir.
No, you are using headset, no. That will be like that only.
Okay. Let me continue, sir. So once this audit intake form is done, audit agency communicate the audit plan and the audit criteria 8 days in advance to food business operator. And then the food business operator should ensure that the audit is happen as per the audit plan and on the scheduled date. So that is the step of food business operator. Then the audit will be happen as given in the date in the audit intake plan. So auditing agency send the auditor and he will execute the audit as per the plan. And as I said, in case of major identification, it will be communicated to food authority in 24 hours through mail or various communication modes. It will be communicated to the food authority. And in case of minor non-conformities, it should be communicated to the authority findings within 15 days, including the follow-up plans. All that should be done in 15 days. And the final audit report should be uploaded on the FSSAI audit management dashboard within 15 days from the date of audit. So this is the general, this is the FSSAI framework of implementing food safety audit. So which is similar to the general framework what we seen earlier. So here the only thing is this communication of major non-conformity and minor non-conformity, which is important. Then audit mandates, it is for different categories. There are 3 different categories. So manufacturing, catering and QSR restaurant and food retail. So audit mandates can be calculated based on this calculation. So number of food handlers is the parameter 1, and number of production lines. As I said in my first or second slide, so processing unit can have different ASAP study. So they can have a separate ASAP study for fresh products. They can have separate ASAP study for their marinated products, and they can have separate ASAP study for the other products, canned or whatever they have. So they can have different ASAP studies. So based on that, these two, they will decide the audit mandates. So if it is if it is up to 50 food handlers and with one process line or ASAP plan, the audit mandate can be 0.5 days. I mean half a day. So similarly, they listed here like what should be the audit mandates based on food handlers and number of production line. So the thing is here, the maximum mandate should be considered. So irrespective of the number of food handlers and production line. For example, if an organization have 100 employees with 6 HACCP lines, then the audit mandate should be 2. So we consider whichever is maximum. So that is the logic here in calculating mandates. And for catering and QSR restaurants, these are the audit mandates fixed by the regulation, which is up to 25 food handlers, then the audit mandate should be half a day, and up to 50 it should be 1 day, up to 100 it should be 1.5 days, and more than 50 till 100 it is 1.5 days, and more than 100 it is 2 mandates. Then for food retail, it is given based on the square feet. So up to 15,000 square feet, the audit mandate can be half a day. Up to 50,000, it is 1 day, and more than 50,000 square feet, the audit mandate should be 1.5 days. So any change in duration should be informed to FSSAI. Basically, sometime there can be some situation where the auditor can stop the audit, and it may follow up on next day. So those situations should be communicated to food authorities. So audit frequency for meat and meat products is like up to 81 to 100%. If the audit score, then it should happen in a yearly basis, and up 50 to 80, it should happen once in 9 months, and if a score is below 50, it should happen at 6 months frequency. Basically, in the manual, they given this frequency for various sectors. So for dairy sector, for fish and for fish products, so for various food sectors, they given this frequency. For this context, I have given here only for meat and poultry products. This is the audit frequency that should be followed. So this is the audit criteria given by the regulation. So audit criteria is nothing but what are all the things the auditor will check while executing the audit. So first of all, the auditor will check the availability of FSSAI license, valid FSSAI license. Then he check the compliance of Schedule 4, which we discussed now, various PRPs. Then he check any review, any changes in the activities conducted at the licensed food business. So that may affect, maybe in the food safety plan, they may have one process, but in the on-site, it may be some changes would have happened. So he will check whether these changes will bring any food safety risk. And he check the approved activities and process. Any changes to the process, if any food business operator done, we review that. And then he check the previous audit reports. It can be a third-party audit. Maybe the company would have faced ISO certification audit before this FSSAI audit. He will check the previous audit report, and any pending closures is there. He will check that. He will review that, and then he checked that previously issued non-conformities and corrective actions are properly met or not. Then he checked the evidences of those corrective actions. Then he check and review the food safety plan. So food safety plan, as we discussed earlier, it includes hazard analysis and its control points, finished product specification, records and flow charts, product testing and its verification records, microbial testing records, water testing records, health certificate of employees, the vendor approval process and their audit reports, all that will be reviewed during the audit. And then he established the non-conformities. As I said right earlier, major and minor non-conformities he established, and he issued the corrective action requests. So he categorized the non-conformities and issue. In case of major non-conformities, it will be sent to a food authority directly, and in case of minor non-conformities, he should create the corrective action request to the food business operator. Then complete audit report and notes should be prepared and discussed with food business operator before he leaving the site. So the next part is code of practices and competence of auditors. So these are the 6 principles of audit, basically, irrespective of the type of audit. These are the basic principles to be followed. So there should be integrity of integrity should be there with the auditor, and the points he present, the non-conformities he present should be fair, and the auditor should maintain the confidentiality, and due professional care should be maintained during the audit process, and he should be independent. He should not have any financial interest with the food business operator in which he doing the audit. And then the entire process of audit should be evidence-based approach, not based on the priori knowledge and his own experiential knowledge. So it should be always based on evidence-based approach. So these are the 6 basic principles of audit. Then the qualification of auditors as prescribed by the regulation is you should have a bachelor's degree in food, dairy or fisheries or oil technology, biotechnology, etc. And you should have the accredited lead auditor course certificate for food safety management system. This will be this is a 5 days to 10 days training program in which the person can attend and get this lead auditor accreditation. And then the auditor should have a good knowledge of the Act, rules and regulations, and a sector specific knowledge is also important, because the person having the experience in dairy may not have experience in meat. So the sector specific knowledge should be ensured by the food auditing agencies before filling the annexures, and you should have a minimum work experience of 2 years, and 10 audits is the basic criteria they fixed as a qualification for auditors. Then declaration of conflict of interest. This is what I said. So this is the declaration the auditing agency should give to the food authority before commencing the organization. So this declaration details about that the auditor doesn't have the financial interest with the food business operator, and it is based on the regulations given in the it based on the auditing regulations and all these things. The food agency they declare. So after giving this, they follow, as I said, they plan the audit, they execute, and they issue the corrective action request and follow up. So this is the FSSAI's framework for food safety audit, and we are open for questions. Hello.
Thank you, Dr. Yogaraj. Thank you for your presentation. And students, participants, is there any doubt?
Yeah, actually, I haven't. I due to my company policy, I not presented the checklist or the things which we follow. We can see, if you the participants want, we can see the checklist given in the the audit manual, which is given for the third party auditors.
Thank you, Yogaraj. Any questions? If no, then we will find out, and I'll try to reschedule the topic that has been assigned to the engineer Bharat. So I'll let you know through the WhatsApp group. So through WhatsApp group. So you all kindly join.
Yeah, sir. Sir, this is the audit checklist that will be used by the auditors while auditing the meat processing unit, while executing the audit. So this audit checklist is nothing but the requirements, various requirements given in the Schedule 4, as we discussed earlier. So they will give the score here, and they categorize whether it is major or minor. So this is the checklist. So this manual is available in FSSAI website. So the participant can take and go through the checklist in which the summarized requirements are given at various sections. What are all the requirements that should be followed? So the food business or operators can use this checklist to conduct internal audits in order to have a effective food safety management system. And while facing the third party audit, if we do the internal audit based on the audit requirements of the external audit, then the audit of the external will be easy to face.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, yes, Mr. Yogaraj.
Any questions? I can brief.
So far, no question, Mr. Yogaraj. Thank you so much, Yogaraj, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks
Sir.
a lot.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Participants, let me inform you through WhatsApp group that when the session will start. Thank you. For the moment, we will wind up. So I'll inform you when the session on food safety management system starts. Thank you,
sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you.